Until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
After a long 3 days away, the madness returns tonight in the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. It is Sweet 16 Thursday, live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. He is the coach. That is James Young, JY. I am Ben Stevens. A Sweet 16 extravaganza, if you will. 6 hours together, live right here on SportsGrid for the entirety of your Sweet 16 coverage. That means all 4 games, a quadruple header in 2 different spots across the country. In the East region, we focus on Newark, New Jersey. Inside the Rock, it's the Prudential Center that will house where the national championship favorite resides. That is Duke, as the 1 seed taking on the 4 seed in Arizona. But that is the nightcap. The opening game of the night tips in just about 10 minutes. It's a high-paced and high-scoring affair expected. It is Alabama and BYU. Then we fly across country to the other coast, out to Northern California by the Bay, at the home of the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco, inside the Chase Center. It is the other 1 seed in action tonight, Florida, against a dramatic 4 seed in Maryland, both late game and off-court drama. And, of course, the second game out in San Francisco tonight, the only double-digit seed on to the second weekend. That is Arkansas and John Calipari into Sweet 16, number 16, taking on Texas Tech in Grant McCaslin. JY, 6 hours here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central coverage. We've got 4 games to break down. It starts in just shy of 10 minutes. And your excitement level is where?
Oh, it's tremendous. Listen, folks, when you go to most games at the Rock, you're watching Seton Hall. This is not going to be Seton Hall's pace. This is going to be up and down. This is a great way to start the Sweet 16. 2 teams that can get up and down, shoot a lot of threes, a lot of possessions. It's going to be an exciting night at the Rock to see who will probably take on Duke in the regional final.
We have about a 5-minute pregame show. We will get to the matchup between the Crimson Tide and the Cougars in just a matter of moments. Of course, our charge tonight, we have our phones, we have our tablets, not to text, not to call, but to check those live stats and, of course, the live betting opportunities so we can win some wagers into the second weekend. The story is survive in advance. If you are here for the round of 16, you are exactly where you need to be. And those live reactions on this Sweet 16 Thursday night, the opening night of the second weekend of the Big Dance. We will check in on every game throughout these 6 hours. The second game tips a little bit before 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time. That is Florida and Maryland out in San Francisco. But again, about a 5-minute pregame show before we get underway tonight at the Rock for our first of 4 in the Sweet 16. That is Alabama, the 2 seed in the East region, squaring off against the 6 seed in the East region in BYU. Sure, it is a 4.5-point spread in favor of the Tide, JY, but first and foremost, your eyes should go to that very large number in the middle. It is 175.5 for a college basketball total in the second weekend of the Big Dance. Just how much offense are you expecting tonight at the Rock?
So much offense that I took the over. I went with it. Listen, when you think about these two teams, you have two teams that are in the top 10 in adjusted offensive efficiency. But then I started looking closely, like defensively, right? Yeah. Where BYU is 302nd in possession length, Alabama is 17th. So that means Alabama, come hell or high water, they're going to make you run. They're going to get you up and down and play with pace. BYU has no problem playing with that pace. So to me, this game screams over. I don't think there's going to be enough offense. You have dynamic shooters all over the place. The question you're going to have is, what does BYU do in regards to how they play the high ball screen? You saw two different philosophies. You saw Andy Toole and Robert Morris when Ben and I were on together last week. You saw them just give up lob after lob after lob and say no threes. So the second matchup, more threes. It'll be very interesting to see how they go about defending that high ball screen because you can't stop both.
Here's how both teams have reached this point. The fourth Sweet 16 appearance in 5 years in Tuscaloosa under Nate Oates. Alabama victorious in their opening round of 64 game on Friday afternoon, but tested by the 15 seed and the champions of the Horizon League, that Robert Morris. Alabama scoring 90, winning by 9, but Bobby Moe easily covering as north of a 20-point underdog. That total skied to the over. Second game for the Crimson Tide, a drastically different style in their opponent, taking on St. Mary's. The Gales like to play slow. Alabama was able to win the day, winning 80-66, winning by 14, covering as a pregame 5.5-point favorite. And JY, that total even staying under despite 80 points for the Crimson Tide. Alabama is the fastest team in college basketball. Nobody plays more up pace. Nobody has a higher tempo than that of the Crimson Tide, and it is orchestrated by their point guard in Mark Sears. He has the highest points prop for tonight's game, JY, at 20.5. What is Mark Sears' offensive philosophy guiding this Crimson Tide attack?
Well, it's interesting. It depends on how he gets the ball, right? We call it outlet headman, right? So they like to outlet the ball, headman the ball up the floor, which means they'll get Sears, throw it up the floor, see if you get a quick layup. If they don't do it, they do what we call punch, which means they put the guy in the corner and they let Sears just drive right downhill, send a big to the weak side block, and play out of it. When you get into your offense, you're running screen and roll, so that becomes paramount. So if you can bet live player props, I'm going to be watching the ball screen coverage early. How are you playing it? Do you go under? Do you blitz it? Do you trap it? Do you ice it? How do you play the high ball screen? Because the guy I call Mini Brunson can beat you in so many ways.
0 from deep. 0 of 4 was Mark Sears in that round of 32 win against St. Mary's. He is only 1 of 9 from deep so far in the Big Dance. We know the story for Alabama. They would like to take more than 46% of their overall field goal tries from beyond the arc. They haven't quite been that efficient in getting off the deep ball so far in the NCAA tournament. Very similar story on the other side for BYU. They will hoist from deep if you allow them. More than 40% of their field goals this year overall come from beyond the arc. And if Mark Sears is the offensive engine for the Crimson Tide, it's Richie Saunders in the flowing blonde curly locks for BYU, JY.
Oh, Richie Saunders can play. And this is why it gets so fun at this time of year, right? Because you get guys on both sides that can knock down shots. I know people are going to say, oh, the tournament first week, it wasn't exciting. Strap on the seatbelts because we got guys on both sides that can knock tons of shots down. The place looks packed at the Rock. Tons of offense, both sides of the ball. The question is, honestly, who's going to get enough stops? Because both teams are going to be able to score it well, I think.
17.5 is that points prop for Richie Saunders. He was lights out in the round of 32 win for BYU. That's how the Cougs are here. They were a slight underdog against Wisconsin. They win that game outright, 91-89, in a high-scoring affair. They knock off VCU in the opener, winning that one by 9 points, 80-71. Both games for BYU so far in the Big Dance, JY, have skied to the over, and there is an argument to be made that Kevin Young, in his first year in Provo, into the Sweet 16, has one of the hottest teams remaining in the NCAA tournament. They have won 11 of their last 12. They have covered in 10 of those 11 wins, including outright as an underdog 5 separate times.
And if you think about the fact that when they play high-octane scoring teams, 80 versus VCU, good defensive team, 91 versus Wisconsin, then you go towards the end of the season, 96, 84, 85, 91, 96. They will score. This game's going to be fun to watch.
And that's why we have a total of 175 and a hook for a Sweet 16 matchup in Newark, New Jersey, in a place that we affectionately call The Rock. You are going to see it start rocking in just a matter of moments. We are just a few minutes away from tip in the opening game of the Sweet 16. SportsGrid Bracket Central continues next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
As we welcome you back to this Sweet 16 Thursday live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central coverage. The Sweet 16 now underway. The opening game of 4 tonight in this weekend. That is the second inside the Big Dance. Already has started live from the Rock in Newark, New Jersey. And the offense is there, JY, to begin. A couple of quick buckets for Alabama. Grant Nelson, then Mark Sears, answered by a 3 from BYU's Trevin Nell. We've got a 4-3 game very early, less than 2 minutes gone so far at the Rock.
Yeah, good pace so far. Both teams getting up and down. First thing I saw right off the bat, first high ball screen from Mark Sears, drop coverage, let them shoot the three. So maybe this is the thing. They're going to say, you know what? We're going to keep you out of the lane. We're going to play under. So, and watch that a lot because we saw it again. You're going to see anytime you see a high ball screen with a big, they're going to play drop coverage, which means they're going to sit him in the lane, almost play like a zone. So to me, 3-point shooting behind the screen could be paramount for Alabama.
With the pace these two teams play at, JY, you can see what we are seeing right now happen in front of us. The one thing we cannot do tonight is give you live play-by-play. We can describe the action to the best of our ability. We can certainly react in earnest to what we are seeing and, of course, update those live betting opportunities. The one thing we cannot do is live play-by-play. But you saw Alabama start on that early 4-0 run. BYU has answered right away on their own 9-0 spurt here. Less than 3 minutes gone in this game. Back and forth we go. So much so, JY, that pregame total of 175.5 might have been a discount. The live number is 177 and a hook.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting up and down. Listen, neither team, I know Cliff Lamore hasn't done it yet. They haven't shown any paint presence, right?
Yeah.
So the teams are getting what they want offensively. They're getting wide open shots. BYU is not afraid to take the 3-point shot. So far, really good pace so far back and forth.
Really good pace so far. 11-6 BYU in front. Of course, we will have some times to preview other games throughout the night as Mark Sears answers with a 3 from straight away. 11-9 so far. That was one of the things you talked about from the scouting report. That coaching perspective that JY will provide all night long is a big reason why you can start to break down the games and you can find those live betting opportunities. You said that would be a key. How would BYU defend the 3-point line? They go under on one of the first ones we have seen, leading to a delivery from Mark Sears. What do you think the thought process is for Kevin Young and his BYU coaching staff?
It's literally the fact that, they're going to get him involved in ball screens big every time, because what your concern is the ability for him to turn the corner, and now you got to funnel and you got to help, and then you can argue the better shooters get the clean looks. So you better say, you know what? We're going to sit there. We're going to make you shoot it from behind the screen. So far, I think Mark Sears has taken three-pointers in the first 4 minutes.
Mawit Mag, a man very familiar with New Jersey, played the first few years of his collegiate career at
Lord.
Rutgers. A good dime to Bakeda, the big man down low for the Cougs, but Alabama answers on the other side. I'm not even kidding.
We're
no
defense.
4.5 minutes into this game, and there has not been a lick of a defensive stop so far. BYU in front by a single point, 13-12. JY, for the first time tonight, we are into the low 180s. 182.5 is that live total. These guys need to get to the under 16-minute media timeout. As they do, they're going to be breathless here very soon in Newark.
I mean, there's so much going on. I'm almost breathless because I got to
second to stop and talk to each other.
Yeah, I know, because it's up and down. And listen, this is what they do. We talked about this before the game, that the pace was going to matter. What you wanted to see is a team like BYU, the average possession of 302nd defensively, has nothing to do with BYU. Yeah. It has to do with every team playing BYU wants to slow it down. You literally see make or miss. It doesn't matter who's getting it. They're outletting it. They're getting it up the floor. They're shooting majority of shots within, I would say, 15 seconds. So that leads to more possessions. The only thing you have to worry about is dry spells. But to me, even on the drives, you're getting dump-offs, dunks, layups. Both teams been getting whatever they want offensively.
Decent amount of depth on both sides as well. So exhaustion, conditioning with a game and teams that play this fast is obviously front and center, but both BYU and Alabama should be able to withstand. It's almost like we need a live total tracker. We started at 175.5, like a mountain climbing its way up. Here at the first media time out, the under 16, it's at 182.5. Fewer than 4.5 minutes gone in this game. Let's update that live spread. Again, the Cougars out in front by a single point, leading 13-12. They were a pregame 4.5-point underdog at close, now getting 3.5 live. It's only 1 point, JY, but I think BYU showing right now, listen, we have the offensive attack to compete with Alabama. I also find it interesting because it was such a disparity of style between Alabama and St. Mary's. How refreshing is it really for both sides to know their opponent is almost like looking in a mirror?
Well, I think it makes it easy to adjust, right? Because you see this every day in practice. It's not like when you go against St. Mary's and it's like a completely different style where they're going to bleed the clock. You know, if you're on either defense, that the ball's going to go up within 15 to 20 seconds. So you're going to be on your P's and Q's, which means that, honestly, it's easier to defend but that doesn't mean you're going to be able to stop it. Both teams dynamic offensively.
So when you look at this game, can the pace sustain the entire way through for all 40 minutes in a Sweet 16 matchup? We're at 182.5 right now. You would not advise to any of our loyal audience, viewers, and listeners out there to get in on the under because it's already up by 7 points in less than 4.5 minutes.
No, if you're trying, I think you missed your mark. I think if anything, you may have to wait and see if this continues. And the other thing you have to look at also, folks, is foul trouble. First 4 minutes, no fouls.
No.
In fact,
Clean game.
besides, I would honestly say, besides the Grant Nelson turnover at the end, I don't know if there was even a stoppage.
I don't believe there was.
I think they went the first 4 minutes, which means up and down. It's good flow for both teams offensively.
I believe the first stoppage, the first dead ball, was that under 16-minute media timeout. Both teams probably like, okay, all right, let's catch our breath. Let's get into this game in Newark, New Jersey. We are coming up on the break. On the other side of it, we will preview our second matchup due up out in Northern California. That is Maryland and Florida, the 4 seed out of the West region, taking on the team on the top line. That is Florida. And, of course, a part of the game breakdown will be the context around the Terrapins in a very interesting week or so for head coach Kevin Willard. We are back underway here as we return to action at the under 16-minute media timeout. BYU up by 1, 13-12. And stop me if you've heard this before, but the offense has not slowed. A bucket right away, I believe, for Trevenell for BYU. They lead by 3, 15-12. The scoring as anticipated there early in Newark. Plenty more on SportsGrid next.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
What we are seeing so far inside the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, in the first game of 2 tonight in the East region to tip off the second weekend of the big dance in the Sweet 16 is on par, JY, with an NBA game. The pace that we are seeing right now in college hoops between Alabama and BYU, two of the best offenses in the sport, two of the fastest teams in the country. Nobody plays at a higher tempo than that of the Crimson Tide. Alabama in front by a bucket, 21-9, fewer than 7 minutes into this opening half. The Crimson Tide alive 6.5-point favorites. So the market's swinging back as Alabama has taken some momentum here in the opening 7 minutes of the game. And a pregame total of 175 and a hook is no more. 7 minutes in, total up by 12. Live over-under stands at 187 and a hook. We laugh because we are not used to this much offense in college basketball. But when two teams that play like this get together, I guess this is what we expected to see.
Yeah, so now you have a completely doesn't matter. Man.
All right, so Mark Sears was 0 of 4 in the round of 32 game against St. Mary's. He was 1 of 5 against Robert Morris in the opening game. 1 of 9 in the opening weekend. He has started 3 of 4 from deep tonight for the Crimson Tide.
And you saw their coach say, all right, zone.
Yeah.
And they swung it back, high ball screen, and that's the thing. They're basically daring Mark Sears to shoot the three. I was saying, Ben, I just saw an interesting graphic they had before we went to break. 98 points inside the lane. 39 points from the three-point line. Then there's foul shots. And 2, one made basket in the mid-range.
Yeah.
So basically, as a team, when you play a team like Alabama, is you got to pick your poison. What they're saying is we're going to make you beat us from the three-point line. Ben, so far, that's what Alabama's doing.
It absolutely is, JY. 13 total field goal attempts for the Crimson Tide. 10 from beyond the arc. This is how Alabama wants to play. It might sound crazy to take more than half of your field goal tries overall from beyond the arc, but not for Nate Oates, not for the Crimson Tide. Just in comparison, JY, we talked about this with Mike Blewett on our Friday show. It was something Alabama was not doing a great job of against the Colonials of Robert Morris. They were not taking as many threes as they would like. Bobby Moe dictating some of the tempo and pace of that game. Not easy to do as a 15 seed. Against St. Mary's, again, because the pace was down, Alabama took 17 threes out of its 56 overall field goal attempts. That's 30.4%. That is nowhere close to the more than 46% of field goals Alabama takes from deep throughout the season. This is much more like the Crimson Tide team we expect. Break it down.
Now, a couple of things really quick. And it's all about what you want to give up, right? They basically tried to trap it or hard hedge it and make Omori dive. You saw early on under. Now we just saw first possession, blitz, which means you come off the ball screen, you send 2 to the person, you send the diver. So that means it's already BYU is on to what we call game plan B, because game plan A out the window. So adjustments there. So we'll see if I'm now Alabama, I may be trying to get to the basket or I'm trying to create something off the bounce.
Mark Sears, the first to double digits tonight in this game. He has 11, also a pregame points prop of 20.5. It was the highest number for any player in this Sweet 16 matchup. The first of our night in Newark. Let's take the cross-country trip out to Northern California in San Francisco. Our first game up in just over 10 minutes. It's the 1 seed in the West region, that being Florida, taking on the 4 seed in Maryland. A 7.5-point spread in favor of the Gators. Total stands around 157.5. JY, we will break down the game, the X's and O's, and the key matchups, more so on the other side of the break before we get to tip tonight in San Francisco. But a huge story entering this game, the job status of Kevin Willard. He is the head coach of Maryland. This is the first Sweet 16 appearance for Willard in his 18 years as a head coach. It's the first Sweet 16 berth for the Terps since 2016. It should be rah-rah and sunflowers and daisies. But it's not, because Kevin Willard has had his name in the running for the Villanova head coaching job. And yesterday, JY, in preparation for this game, deflecting a ton in terms of what his future is in College Park or maybe on the main line.
Yeah, I mean, it was an embarrassment. I'll be honest with you, and I don't care what the Donnie Right side said. Don't compare Will Wade and how he acted truthfully what Kevin Willard did, which was ask a question about Villanova and talked about Walter Clayton Jr. You wonder why you got booed walking out of your hotel. You're a disgrace for what you're acting right now with the Maryland fan base.
He is acting very egotistical. He has taken a moment that should be celebrated in College Park and made it very selfishly individual. We will talk about this more, and of course, JY, the effect that it has on our matchup between the Gators and the Terrapins. Up next on SportsGrid.
Did you know you can make free bonus cash while gaming? Almost all social casinos have daily bonus dollars. That's free money, y'all. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Opening half of our first game of this night on Sweet 16, Thursday, live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. We've got a very long night to go. We are here for the entirety of our quadruple header of our 4 games to tip off the second weekend of the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. 10:44 JY remaining in this first half in our first matchup, 2-6 split in the East region, housed in Newark, New Jersey at The Rock. Alabama up by 2, 27-25. They're a live 5.5-point favorite. Pre-game closed as a 4.5-point favorite. And of course, the live total tracker as we make our way up the mountain. Pre-game 175.5. Currently, the number stands at 189 and a hook. Do you expect the offense to slow down at any point tonight in New Jersey?
Oh, no. You know what I was thinking about? There was a game on Price Right.
That's literally what I'm thinking. I don't know if we want to copyright that.
Well, and I tried to sing it and I did a terrible job.
Yeah.
But it keeps going up, and it's just the pace of play. Now, you're going to see different teams try different things here. Now, what I want to say is a little bit of adjustment that I saw in regards to BYU defensively. It depended on whether Holloway or Sears had the ball screen. Yeah. If Sears had the ball screen, they continued to go under. Holloway, they blitzed it, which is interesting because I think they think that maybe he's not the best decision maker in regards to maybe throws the ball around the gym. Other thing of note so far at 27-26 is the fact that out of the 10 missed field goals that BYU has gotten, 4 of them they've gotten offensive rebounds. So they're allowing, when they're getting missed shots, they're getting offensive rebounds at a decent clip, which is helping them get extra possessions.
JY, you wouldn't expect a ton of defensive stands or stops in this game, but neither team really turning the ball over. 2 turnovers so far for BYU, about halfway through this opening half, only 3 on the other side for Alabama.
My God.
And that's how you know it's a night for the over as a banked-in 3 goes down for the Crimson Tide. Was that LeBaron Philon?
Yep,
I couldn't tell what the number was, but a banked-in 3 nonetheless. Yes, it was for the freshman. I believe, from Mobile, Alabama. He is a perfect 2 of 2 from 30 to 26 right now. Alabama in front by 4. No play-by-play, please, but we do understand. We'll check back in, JY, in just a moment with our action at The Rock. Let's head out to San Francisco, Northern California, inside the Chase Center. It is the home of the Golden State Warriors, and everybody trying to look the part of an NBA champion or at least just a title winner tonight. Our first matchup tipping in just about 10 minutes. The 1 seed in the West region, that is Florida, taking on the 4 seed in Maryland. JY, we touched on Kevin Willard. the saga this has become for the Terps head coach in the last week or so. It seemed as though he had ousted Maryland's AD, Damon Evans. He heads to Dallas to become the new athletic director at SMU. Willard calling out the Terps program, needs more funding, needs more investment, a contract offer on the table, and yet, right now, entering the Sweet 16, it seems more likely that Kevin Willard is coaching next week at Villanova than Maryland at the Final Four. That's the drama off the court. How do you think it actually impacts the gameplay we will see tonight by the bay?
Well, listen, you want these kids to be pros, but they're not. They're college kids. And that's why I talked about how, it was refreshing how Will Wade was openly upfront and honest with the media, but more importantly, with his team.
Yeah.
Letting them know exactly this is what's going on. So you don't have to read it. So now when you go into a press conference and you're asked questions about Villanova, and instead of saying, hey, listen, it's speculation. I don't know what's going on. Listen, we'll talk about it after the season. You deflect in a way that makes it more of a distraction. And I think that's the hard thing you have to wonder. And I think here's the thing you have to look at this game. You're going to know how focused Maryland is really early.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the other side, if I'm Coach Golden, Ben, I'm trying to throw the knockout punch right off the jump. I'm going to try and jump you early and try and get all the doubt and all the frustration what's going on to rear its ugly head. So watch the game early. Does Maryland stay in it? And how much does a team like Florida try and push the pace to see if they get this team a little bit rattled?
JY, I have Florida as my national championship pick. I believe in the Gators outside of the drama for Maryland entering this Sweet 16. But it is fascinating to follow where the Terps are right now. First Sweet 16 appearance for this proud basketball program who won a national championship under Gary Williams in 2002. First Sweet 16 berth for Maryland since 2016. Kevin Willard has been to the NCAA tournament 7 times, both in College Park and during his days coaching Seton Hall, who plays their games, of course, at The Rock. He has never seen the second weekend. This is his first time. He has been a Division I head coach for 18 years. This is his second time still dancing into the Sweet 16. You think he would be exhilarated by that very fact, except everything else outside of that accomplishment has become the story.
I was going to say, act like you've been there before. But he hasn't been there before. So that kind of explains it. And it makes you wonder, even when you watch it, as Ben and I were together when Maryland beat Colorado State, and we were wondering even the decisions that were made by Maryland defensively down the stretch left a lot to be desired. So to me, I can understand with all that's happening, with the fact that he got offered supposedly $5 million a year, $5 million a year to stay at College Park. The work he ran out the AD. Mike Lockley's upset with the fact that he may be losing NIL. Meanwhile, he's got his eyes on Villanova. It's a lot of distractions to deal with, and I think that's going to come back and bite him against Florida.
It also is not like Kevin Willard is just an innocent bystander. He was the guy that made this about his coaching search just over a week ago, calling out his own program in terms of the funding necessary and then maybe jumping ship after what should be a celebration of seeing the second weekend in the big dance. JY, to your point, that's what's going to tell me all I need to know about tonight's game.
Yeah.
Florida now a 7.5-point favorite. The line earlier in the day, just 6 and a hook in favor of the Gators. I bet UF laying 3.5 in the opening half. If Florida is going to barnstorm them because of a lack of preparation, perhaps, or a lack of focus for Kevin Willard and his Terps, I think it starts early and often in the opening 20 minutes. We have talked about Florida's perspective watching what is happening at Maryland. But JY, the Terps are still a very talented team. We saw it with the buzzer beater thriller in the Big Ten Freshman of the Year live together on Sunday night in Derek Queen. It's Derek Queen. It's Julian Reese. And it's a very talented trio in the backcourt led by Jacoby Gillespie, Rodney Rice, and Selton Miguel. You will hear all 5 of their names quite frequently tonight. It is the starting lineup for Maryland. They are known as the Crab 5. And JY, they are most, if not all, of the production for this Terps team.
Yeah, you look at the 5 stars, you look at the 6 men to get you 3.5 points per game. So that becomes the other thing that you want to watch as you're watching the game. And hopefully what you should do is you should have your iPad or your phone or your computer right next to you as we talk, because we're going to try and give you pointers. Start looking right away. Foul trouble. Foul trouble. Because you got Florida's bigs that are not maybe as good, but just as big as Queen and Reese that should, and they have more of them that should give a lot of problems. And then there's a lack of guard depth with Maryland. If you start seeing guys with 2 fouls run to the window and maybe see where it is, that first half line will be interesting. If I see 1 or 2 guys with 2 fouls early in the game, I'm taking obviously Florida minus the points in the first half because the game can get away from them.
It'll be an easy read, at least we believe, for the start of that game that is just about to be underway. We are talking in a matter of moments in San Francisco. Here we sit on Sweet 16 Thursday. We've got one game underway. Alabama up by a few points over BYU, 35-30 at the under 8-minute media timeout. The Crimson Tide, a live 6.5-point favorite in the total. Tick, 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 tick. 190 and a half into the 190s for the first time in our game in Newark. And we are now underway in San Francisco. The 1-4 matchup in the West region with a spot in the Elite Eight at stake. It is Florida and Maryland. The Gators close as a 7.5-point pregame favorite. Total 156 and a half. Is the Kevin Willard distraction actually that? We're about to find out for the Terps and the Gators, JY, one of the best cover teams in the country entering the big dance, have not covered so far in the NCAA tourney. But Florida, one of the most dangerous teams that we know, still dancing in the Sweet 16. Plenty more next.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There's a couple of reasons why St. John's lost this game. Number one, it has nothing to do with the fact that R.J. Lewis was benched the last 4 minutes and 56 seconds. The kid was 3 for 17. He was terrible defensively. His shot selection had a lot to be desired. And when Zuby Ejiofor shook him, there was nothing there. It was a blank stare. They got him out the game because they had to.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Derek Queen said, as Willard quoted, "Give me the effing ball." And deliver, Derek Queen did. The king of College Park, Derek Queen, our first true buzzer beater.
I think that Maryland's going to win this game. I just think they're going to find a way to get the ball inside. They're going to cut down Clifford. They're going to contest the three-point line a little bit better. They're going to funnel the ball in.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central coverage. It is the start of the second weekend at the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. And JY, we are in the sweet spot in the early window. Both of our matchups that will happen tonight, first and foremost in Newark in the East region and out in the West region in San Francisco, are now live. Deeper into the opening half, Alabama still in front by 6. 38-32 over BYU. A player down for the Cougars on the floor right now. Looks like Trevin Nell, who, as JY is saying, caught an elbow. He is being attended to by trainers at this moment. Looks like he is bleeding on the hardwood inside the rock. We are also underway inside the Chase Center out in San Francisco. West region action between Maryland and Florida. The Terps get a bucket, a 5-4 game early. JY, so far as we expected and what we are seeing by the Bay, what stands out to you most this early on?
Well, just the ability of Florida to attack the offensive glass. Obviously, you look at Alex Condon with 2 offensive rebounds off the jump. So, that's going to be a concern for Coach Willard's team. Also, they finally, I was waiting early in the game, first 5 or 6 possessions. Yeah. Julian Reese did not get a shot up. So I was looking to see when you start to get him shots up. Now he's got 2 and 2 from the floor. Derek Queen is not taking a shot attempt. So you see how this game is flowing. It's a good flow, good possessions. Some sloppiness, but it's kind of like a feeling out process, kind of like the first 2 rounds of a heavyweight fight.
So we do see Trevin Nell walking off the floor right now for BYU. Was in Kevin Young's starting lineup to begin tonight. We will see what that has the rest of the way. Elsewhere, JY, we are at our first media time out in San Francisco. More than 4 minutes gone. Still a 1-point game. Florida in front, 7-6. 6.5-point live spread in favor of the Gators. Total down by a few points. Earlier in the day, 157.5. Pre-game again closing with that over-under at 156.5. Down to 154 and a hook. Both teams very efficient on either side of the floor. Both really sound offensively, both very stout defensively, but both teams will play with pace if allowed. Florida enters this game over in both of its games so far in the Big Dance, over in 9 straight for Todd Golden's Gators.
Yeah, so they will have a propensity to run. The issue that you have, if you're on the other side in Maryland, is, let's be honest, man, you don't have the horses to run up and down, so you may have to sub liberally if you are Kevin Willard. And what I mean liberally is you have their crab 5, right? Their starting 5. Watch, I'm going to call right before the media timeouts. Like, I would say, 16:30.
Yeah.
12:30. Right when you're about 30 to 45 to a minute out, you may see Kevin Willard get a guy to the table, and then hopefully it's a minute or so, or a minute and a half of missed action, but then you have a 155-second media timeout, so that 1 minute of missed action turns to about a 3.5-minute break. So you got to work with your subs a little bit because he really can't have his guys off the floor much.
We are going to go back and forth between these 2 games when there is a stoppage in one, a focus on the live action in the other. And Alabama extending its lead, JY, the largest advantage the Crimson Tide has had all day. It was 9 for a moment after another made 3, but Yegor Dimon, a bucket there for BYU as well, cuts the deficit back to just 7. 41-34 in favor of Alabama. The 3 ball still flying for the Crimson Tide right on cue. Another made 3, and now the largest lead once again for the Crimson Tide, the first time in double digits. And JY, that's reflected in the live odds. Alabama closed as a 4.5-point pregame favorite, up by double digits, a double-digit live spread, 10.5 in favor of the Tide.
So where is this game being won?
Yeah.
Simply put, at the 3-point line. You have 12 for 24 for Alabama, 1 of 8 for BYU.
I mean, it's impressive. BYU is only down by 10.
That's what I'm about to say. Like, they're minus 33 points from the 3-point line, and they're down 10. So if you're coach, you're saying, you know what, guys, we hit a couple of shots, we slow them down, we should be able to do so. But then what happens, you get worried about is now you start chasing them. You start chasing them off the 3-point line, and then here come the drives and open layups.
And it's really fascinating, JY, to see the proficiency of which Alabama is hoisting from deep tonight. 24 of their 29 overall field goal attempts make that 25 of 30, but a putback there. We'll see what the call is on the floor for the Crimson Tide. 24 of 29 entering that possession from 3. We talked about the fact that Alabama had not quite reached that 46% or so 3-point rate they had seen throughout the entirety of this season entering the tournament. 24 of 29. Again, I am no math major, but I know that is north of 70% somewhere. Alabama is firing from 3 tonight, and not only are they taking a ton, they're making plenty as well.
They're making plenty as well, and it's all because of how they're being defended. They're continuing to go under Mark Sears, and Mark Sears is making them pay, but it's more than Sears. We've seen Holloway shoot some big threes. We just saw Grant Nelson take a 3. So you could tell that BYU is honestly concerned about the athleticism and the ability for Alabama to get to the basket.
And I think that's interesting as well, JY, because the Cougars are struggling from deep. They are 1 of 8, but then you look at their overall field goal percentage, they are 16 of 30. So 15 of 22 for their 2-point field goal attempts here in this ball game, and we have seen them kind of cut into the lane, stop shy of Cliff Amore, and put up a bucket. I will say this about the Crimson Tide, or even BYU for that instance. When you play at this fast of a tempo, it is difficult to defend to the efficiency we will see of other teams that play in this second weekend. Houston, Tennessee, Michigan State, Duke even, just to name a few. But JY, the fact that Alabama, who reached the Final Four for the first time in program history just a tournament ago, and they were outside of the top 100, 111th in defensive efficiency, now ranks inside the top 30 entering the second weekend. That is a testament to the coaching staff there in Tuscaloosa and the addition of the Rutgers big man in Cliff Amore, also very comfortable back playing in the Garden State.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, having Big Cliff there, is the ability to now move Grant Nelson to more of his natural power forward spot.
Yeah.
And then now he becomes that big shot blocker off the weak side. So, yes, he cleans up a lot of issues, but you still got to be able to defend the three-point line versus BYU.
Under 4-minute media time out, Alabama in front by 8, 44-36. Crimson Tide live, 8.5-point favorite. We are all square in the early going, a little bit more than 5.5 minutes gone in the opening half between Florida and Maryland. Gators and the Terps, each with 9. Florida live 6.5-point favorite. Plenty more in store. Up next.
Did you know you can make free bonus cash while gaming? Almost all social casinos have daily bonus dollars. That's free money, y'all. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
About 3 minutes left to end out the opening half in our first game of the Sweet 16. That is Alabama and BYU. 2-6 matchup in the East region inside the Rock in Newark, New Jersey. Alabama up by double digits once again, 46-36. About 8 minutes gone in the opening half in our second game of this evening. The first out in the West region of the night in San Francisco. it is Florida and Maryland. 1-4 split in the West region here into the second weekend. Florida is the top team in this portion of the bracket, and JY, they have opened up a 6-point advantage, 15-9 over Maryland. The Gators were a pregame 7.5-point favorite. That live number, 9.5 right now in favor of UF.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've got off to a good start, shooting 3 of 7 from 3 and really getting the shots that they want. You know, we talked about getting Julian Reese and Derek Queen shots. 3 shots for Julian Reese, no shots for Derek Queen so far. I know he went to the bench when he got kind of a question of, I'd say more of a ticky-tack foul he shouldn't have done. So far, slow start for the freshman of the year in the Big Ten. But we'll see here. Early on, you know, they're getting good shots. Obviously, Florida got to buckle up defensively in Maryland because, honestly, you can't really go much anywhere else besides your 5 starters.
Yeah, and that's really where the Crab 5 is a part right there. A turnover for Maryland leading to what should have been a bucket at the other end, but a missed layup there.
Someone's
for
down.
The Terps.
Somebody
is down on the floor.
Is that Condon?
That looks to be the big Aussie for Florida, Alex Condon, hopping around on his left foot, not able to put any weight at this moment on his right foot. That a terrible sign for the Gators early on. Now helped off to the bench by the athletic training staff and maybe heading back to the locker room tunnel. A loose ball there in the play that led to, I believe, Jacoby Gillespie, who should have had a made layup in transition, and then Condon tripped up over somebody, now had to be helped off the floor. JY, one of the main reasons I have Florida as my national title winner in this year's NCAA tournament, of course, the guard play is sensational. Walter Clayton Jr., Will Richard, Elijah Martin, who was part of the FAU Final Four run 2 years ago. But Alex Condon, the versatile big for Todd Golden, was a big key as well. Off the floor right now, Florida does not miss a beat. They bury a 3 to double up Maryland. They lead 18-9.
Yeah, kind of getting you about 11.1, about 8 rebounds a game. Really a dynamic big that continues to get better as the season went along. Really, even shoots 34% from 3. I know it's not his game, but it has the ability to knock down threes too. And I think that's why you thought about this game could pose a problem for Maryland because, you know, you have just of quality bigs right back on the other side that you have to deal with. So to me, a good start. We'll have to see what happens with Condon. You know, he looked like he lifted himself all the way back to the locker room. You hope that, honestly, you just retape it up, tie the shoes, laces a little bit tighter, go back out on the floor.
Absolutely so. We are at a stoppage there in the game between Maryland and Florida. Again, the Gators up 18-9. Another stoppage for a potential elbow dished out by BYU's Kay Bakeda. They're big, who came up big against the Badgers, against Alabama's Chris Youngblood. So a stoppage here and a review. We are not able to hear what they are discussing on the game broadcast, of course, live with our monitor in studio. But, JY, from what we can see, that elbow did look a tad egregious, certainly up there to the facial area of Chris Youngblood. I wonder what the discussion is against Kay Bakeda, who provides that energy and, of course, the interior presence for BYU. What do you think the call is going to end up being?
Well, it's a little interesting because if you watch it closely, Youngblood hits him first with an elbow, but it looks like it's inverted going for a rebound. But then it's not even that bad. It wasn't even an elbow. It was a swing. So now it's a wonder if it's a basketball play, anything up to the head.
Yeah,
that couldn't be a flagrant 2.
What did he connect with? Forearm, elbow, hand?
Hand.
All right, so they are debating what kind of flagrant foul more than likely this is going to be. A flagrant 1, you're still in the basketball game. A flagrant 2, that's immediate expulsion. We'll see what the ruling is here as we are coming up on the break, ending out our opening hour. Of course, we're not going anywhere. 6 hours of a Sweet 16 extravaganza continues here on Bracket Central. Not sure what the ruling is.
It's got to be a flagrant. It's a flagrant 1 because he would have been escorted to the locker room. So that means they didn't think it was egregious enough to the fact that it was up to the face. Good call because you don't want this to be about the referees and throwing kids out in the first half of a Sweet 16 game. 2
flagrant free throws for Chris Youngblood. He is at the line right now. Alabama in front by 8, 46-38. First free throw is good for Youngblood. Just over 2 minutes left here, JY, and we're going to near a double-digit lead for the Crimson Tide. When we come back into our second hour, we'll catch you up on how the end of this opening half endured into a close.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There's a couple of reasons why St. John's lost this game. Number one, it has nothing to do with the fact that R.J. Lewis was benched the last 4 minutes and 56 seconds. The kid was 3 for 17. He was terrible defensively. His shot selection had a lot to be desired. And when Zuby Ejiofor shook him, there was nothing there. It was a blank stare. They got him out the game because they had to.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Derek Queen said, as Willard quoted, "Give me the effing ball." And deliver, Derek Queen did. The king of College Park, Derek Queen, our first true buzzer beater.
I think that Maryland's going to win this game. I just think they're going to find a way to get the ball inside. They're going to cut down Clifford. They're going to contest the three-point line a little bit better. They're going to funnel the ball in.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The opening night of the second weekend of the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. It is Sweet 16 Thursday, live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. He is the coach. That is J.Y. James Young. I am Ben Stevens. Both of our games in the early window in the East region. It's the 2-6 matchup between Alabama on the 2 line against the 6 seed in BYU. Game is being played at the Rock in Newark, New Jersey, nearing the close to the opening half. We are also underway about halfway through the opening half on the other coast in San Francisco, out in the West region. Top team in that portion of the bracket, Florida, taking on the 4 seed in Maryland. This is where you want to be. Hour number 2, 2 games live here in the opening half as we have it in the Sweet 16. And JY, as we near the end of this first half, BYU and Alabama, Crimson Tide up by double digits. What's the key for BYU in these closing seconds to try to cut it to as close of a deficit as possible to head into the half?
Honestly, I think they need to see a three-point shot go in the basket. They're getting quality looks. They're getting some stops at times, but they're just not being able to convert. But they're right there with them. But you also see, to me, what I think is a lack of respect that particularly Holloway has for the BYU guards. I mean, he's kind of getting up into their space, forcing them to start their offense further away from the basket, which is throwing off their rhythm and timing. So good job by Alabama, up by 10 late in the first half.
About 20 seconds remaining there. The Crimson Tide up by 10, 50-40. Again, Alabama pregame a 4.5-point favorite with a very lofty pregame total of 175 and a hook. That is incredibly high by college basketball standards, even for two teams that are great offensively and play at a very fast tempo. And we are well past that here. 183 and a half is that live number as we near the break. But we did see it dip into the 190s earlier in this first half. Meanwhile, Florida had opened up an 11-point lead, JY, 20-9. From that point, Maryland on a quick 10-2 run. It is just a 3-point game, 22-19. The Gators in front, about 8.5 minutes remaining in that opening half.
Well, I talked about early on that they didn't get someone like Derek Queen the ball. He didn't have any shots, but of course, they went a little bit different. It went kind of high. And I call it a short roll. It means you don't roll all the way to the basket. You give them the ball around the elbow, and you got a couple of push floaters by both Queen and Reese. So they got those guys in the scoring column, which is what you want Kevin Willard. You want to be able to go through the bigs, play that short roll game. Now if you start to tag them higher, then the skip pass could be open for 3-pointers.
My bet for this game was the Gators laying 3.5 in the first half because of all the drama and the chaos surrounding Maryland's head coach in Kevin Willard. How would his team respond? What fight would Florida bring after not playing all that well against Connecticut in the opening half in the round of 32, but escaping past the two-time reigning champs and setting Dan Hurley's Huskies home at the end of the opening weekend? Florida up by 5, 24-19. The Gators again, JY, one of the best cover teams in the Big Dance, one of the best cover teams in college hoops this season, 26-8 against the spread, which is highly impressive for a Florida team that played in the gauntlet of the SEC. They had won 12 of their last 13, including that SEC tournament title, entering the NCAA tournament, covering in all 12 victories. They have won both of their games so far in the Big Dance and did hammer Norfolk State in their opener, but they have not covered based on those pregame lines. We have hit the under 8-minute media time out. 5-point lead for the Gators, up 24-19.
Well, the key thing for the other side for Maryland is you have nobody in foul trouble.
Yeah.
That was going to be, I obviously talked to my concern. It was interesting. Derek Queen got an early foul ban, I think at about the 14-minute mark, and they took him out of the game for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because I think that means Kevin Willard's worried about the propensity of the big man to make fresh mistakes and maybe foul and kind of press. So good job by them kind of staying in the game. You know, listen, they're shooting 53% from the floor, right? You know, Florida's shooting 45. You know, they've gotten 15 shots up. Florida's got more shots of them as course. They got to do a better job of rebounding. Florida missing 11 field goal attempts and getting 6 offensive rebounds. That's an over 50% offensive rebounding rate. So you have to do a better job of securing that first shot by the Florida Gators.
Yeah, no doubt about it for the Gators, trying to contend with that. And Maryland's size, of course, down low in Julian Reese and the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, who sent the Terrapins to their first Sweet 16 appearance since 2016. That, of course, the man who is the king of College Park, Derek Queen, the buzzer beater against Colorado State on Sunday night. His points prop for this matchup was 16.5, highest for the game, JY, and rightfully so. Walter Clayton Jr. for Todd Golden's Gators. He has had exactly 23 points in each of the first 2 games for Florida, and off to a great start tonight as well. So far in this game, 3 of 7 from the floor, but 2 of 4 from deep. He leads everybody on Florida with 8 points.
Yeah, so I think, listen, with Florida, they're getting what they need. Now, the concern is going to move right to Condon, right?
Yeah.
Because we got to see if he goes back into the game. But that's when you have a guy like Thomas Hall that comes off the bench to get you almost 10 points a game at 6'9". So you can put him next to Wilvershire, the other big, and still go 6'9", whatever, 6'11", and have plenty of height. So to me, this is where they become dangerous, is the fact that they have depth. So they could lose a Condon, which you don't want to see them lose that, but they have the ability to just plug and play the next guy up. That's important for a Florida team that really Maryland does not have that luxury.
Florida's Thomas Houck coming off the bench, but he is not just your regular bench player in college hoops. Just to tidy up what we saw there at the end of the opening half between Alabama and BYU in Newark, BYU did get a good look from deep with the lengthy arms and wingspan of Grant Nelson deflecting that shot. So the Crimson Tide will head into the half, JY, 51-40. They are up by 11 after a sensational offensive half for the Tide. They took 34 shots in total, 27 of them from deep. They were 12 of 24 early. They missed their final 3 3-point tries of the opening half. But when your leader in Mark Sears has 17 at the break and he is 5 of 7 from deep, you will take that offensive performance if you are Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide
Yeah,
staff.
Absolutely. And then you have to turn around and think, are you going to allow this to continue on? We saw the 2 times that they didn't do it.
Yeah.
They went high pick and roll, right? You had an alley-oop for Maury for a dunk, and then the other time he had fouled and would have made 2 free throws. So now, when you adjust, how are you going to play this pick and roll? I suspect if I am BYU, I'm taking the ball out of Mark Sears' hands. I'm doubling him hard.
Yeah.
And then I'm just making him give up that long skip pass and hope you can close out. But then you have to worry about the skip pass closeout, and then here comes the drive. They did it a couple of times. BYU did a good job of forcing the ball baseline down in the corner, and they tried to skip pass across the way, and they got a couple of steals. So let's see if they try to go back to that early in the second half.
Of course, we have been total tracking all night long. Pre-game closing over-under was 175.5. here at the break. It is 183 and a hook after a very torrid start to this game. We saw that number touch the 190s, back down to 183 and a half, but still up by 8 from where it was pregame. We'll touch on those halftime numbers in just a moment. The halftime adjustments that both coaches are looking to make in the locker room with our coach, James Young, JY, but we are still with about 7 minutes remaining in the opening half in San Francisco, JY, between Florida and Maryland. Big three for the Gators. They are back up by 3, 27-24. Maryland had equalized right as they came out of the commercial break.
Yeah, they tried to go with a little soft pressure to try and do something different. But, of course, one thing you worry about getting pressed is giving up three-point shots.
And they did give up a three-point shot there, buried from the corner by Florida. Again, up 27-24. The Gators were a pregame 7.5-point favorite. Live right now, laying just 6.5. For me personally, I've got a 3.5-point number in favor of the Gators in the opening half, right around that pesky old hook. Plenty more coming your way up next on SportsGrid Bracket Central.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We have two games live as we speak right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. It is Sweet 16 Thursday at the 2025 Big Dance. He is the coach, JY James Young. I am Ben Stevens. One game at the break, our first of the night in the East region, out at the Rock in Newark, New Jersey, Alabama. The 2 seed in the East region, ahead by double digits, leading by 11 at the half over the 6 seed in BYU. We'll look at those halftime numbers in just a matter of moments. Make sure you get those updated edges as the two teams enter the halftime locker room. But JY, a story developing in our other game live right now in this early window, but across the coast in San Francisco. Maryland has taken the lead over the 1 seed in Florida. They are up by 1, 28-27, and the Gators in a lot of foul trouble. That was their 9th team foul, even on the ground. It will send the outstanding freshman Derek Queen to the line for a 1-and-1.
Yeah, so obviously you have Condon out, and then I want to say it's Giello just picked up his second foul. So now you have 2 of the 3 big men with 2 fouls already, and then obviously you look at Hall already has 1 foul. So now and here's the thing that I saw interesting as of late. Kevin Willard has figured it out. They're switching ball screens. So what they're doing is switching ball screens, getting Reese or Queen in that, like that I used to call it the Garnett area, which is kind of like that 12 to 14 foot on the wing kind of post up where you can kind of go to the basket and create. So now a little bit of foul trouble by the Florida Gators and injuries. So the team that's got the foul trouble is the team that's got the depth. So it's allowed obviously Maryland to stay in the game so far.
Yes, it absolutely has so far for the Terps. Again, they were a pregame 7.5-point underdog. Our question was, what would the response be with all the drama that has followed this Maryland team off the floor in the last few days? Started and ended, we think, by their head coach in Kevin Willard. Florida down by 1, 30-29, 4.5 minutes remaining. The Gators were pregame live as a 7.5-point favorite. Currently, as we speak, that number 4.5 out in San Francisco. I am going to very much be sweating out an opening half, 3.5-point spread in favor of the Gators. So maybe you will see some live reactions as we near the halftime break. We still await our final media timeout when we get to the under 4. JY, you mentioned what Kevin Willard has adjusted to here in this opening half. How does Todd Golden answer, especially with his team in foul trouble?
Well, I think what he tries to do is he continues to try and play with a little bit of pace and try to make sure that even though we're in a little bit of foul trouble, we have the ability to, and let's say if Condon doesn't come back in the game, we can still run 8 guys at you to your 5. So, and that's the key thing. So, and just make sure you secure the rebound. But anytime you get a rebound, you got to look to push the floor, because especially when a team, and I'll be honest with you, when a team has their best player as bigs, you definitely want to make them big men go up and down the floor a lot because there's really no one on the bench of bigs of significance that can really take Queen or Reese out of the game.
And, of course, we will see what the status is for Alex Condon, the nearly 7-foot Aussie for Todd Golden and his Gators, who left the game injured earlier, had to be escorted back to the tunnel with what appeared to be an ankle injury of sort, at least a lower left leg injury. He is key not only for the defensive structure for Florida, but of course he is very creative offensively, JY, a great facilitator despite being 6'11", nearly 7 foot. All right, let's get you the halftime report from what we are seeing in Newark. Alabama up by 11, 51-40. The Crimson Tide were a pregame 4.5-point favorite. Now they are laying 9.5 at the break. And if you want to back the Tide, JY, you got to pay for it. It's minus 128 in terms of that juice. A main story for this game was the offense, the pace, the tempo. How fast would these teams play? Could they actually go over a sky-high total of 175.5? Well, that updated number at the break, 182 and a hook. What do we see in the second 20 minutes in terms of that offense?
It's simply put, as crazy as this sounds, like if you're BYU and you have 40 points at the break, and I think if I want to say this right, I believe they're 1 of 13
1
from
of 13
3.
from 3, yeah.
Okay? They are 16 of 24 from 2. If you just knock down a couple of more shots, they're in this game. So the key is you have to see, honestly, the first 1 or 2 fall in the second half, Ben. I'm not saying you run a quick hit for a 3 off the jump, but you're telling your guys, hunt threes. They're going to be there. There's no way a team as good as BYU is going to shoot this poorly for 40 minutes.
So when you look at that then, JY, what is Kevin Young telling his locker room right now for BYU? They are 1 of 13 from 3, but they've been pretty efficient from 2-point range. One of the things about Alabama that they do well offensively, they want to shoot the 3 on that side of the ball. Defensively, they want to take away the 3. They want to run you off the line. And BYU, of course, wants to hoist from deep as well, even at a higher rate than that of Alabama. So what is the offensive structure that Kevin Young is preaching to his Cougs team right now?
Honestly, it's going to be take the best shot available.
Yeah.
the best shot and the first shot available, because you know what, Alabama, you're going to get clean looks, whether it's from 3 or inside. So you want to get the first available shot that you can take. Yes, but I want you to hunt 3-pointers, because if I'm Nate Oates, I'm saying, all right, they're 16 of 24 from 2, right? And their ability to sometimes they have 5 offensive rebounds, right? So let's keep them off. Let's see them hit a couple of shots. So I'm not saying that they are going to give up open threes, Alabama. I'm just saying those closeouts may not be as hard because the percentages say they're not knocking down shots. Maybe make them make a 3 or 2 first, and then you adjust if you're Nate Oates.
Again, Alabama all season long, about 46% of their overall field goal attempts coming from three-point land. In the tournament, they haven't necessarily done that yet. In the first half, 27 of 34 field goal attempts from deep, and they have made 12, led by their star in Mark Sears, who has 5 of 7 from deep. BYU wants to even outdo what the Tide do. They take more than 47% of their field goal tries from three-point range, and they were great at doing so against Wisconsin. 1 of 13 here for Kevin Young and his Cougars in the opening half. More in terms of that halftime numbers and what we will see at the break in terms of those adjustments from our coach with the 2 coaches that are speaking to their team right now in Newark. Nate Oates for Alabama, Kevin Young for BYU. But the closing few minutes in the first half between Florida and Maryland. Up next.
Did you know you can make free bonus cash while gaming? Almost all social casinos have daily bonus dollars. That's free money, y'all. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Sweet 16 Thursday live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. We've got one game at the break. Alabama ahead by 11, 51-40 in front of BYU. One game with just shy of 2.5 minutes to go in the opening half out in San Francisco between Florida and Maryland. About 2 minutes and 17 seconds, JY, remaining in this opening half with Florida star guard in Walter Clayton Jr. at the charity stripe. Currently, it is tied at 34 all. It is now 35-34, Gators in front. We've got about 120 seconds. I've got a Florida minus 3.5 first half number to try to cover here in the opening 20 minutes. I'm going to start to sweat, my friend.
You're starting to sweat, and if you are backing Ben, like I'm a good friend, I'm backing my friend here.
You have full game now.
You want a stop, a score, and a stop, right? Stop, score, stop. They'll put you up by 3 or 4 with about a minute left to go. So to me, you're right in your spot where you need. You got to stop. Now it's about getting a quality offensive possession. Meanwhile, we did see Alex Condon riding the bike. So that is a good sign that maybe he's just trying to loosen up that ankle a little bit.
He was out of the locker room, which is always inspiring, especially when there's only 2 minutes left in the first half and he could just hang out there to receive his teammates as they head into the halftime break. An easy missed Florida layup right there, which would have done wonders for me trying to get to at least 3, 35-34. Florida in front here with about 90 seconds left in the opening half. Again, we cannot provide that live play-by-play. What we can give you is the live betting odds. One of the issues, JY, for the Gators in this opening half, right on cue, is foul trouble. They are in the double bonus, meaning Florida has already fouled more than 10 times. Maryland in the double bonus as Walter Clayton Jr. commits the foul right there. It will send, I believe, Jacoby Gillespie to the stripe.
Yeah, just a dumb foul by Walter Clayton Jr. You had Gillespie driving to his left on the left side of the floor and really just kind of out of control and just kind of hip checked him. So, big possession here for Florida. If you're Ben, you probably maybe down by 1. You need to get yourself a bucket and a quality shot, and probably pretty quick.
And we have reached that point, JY. We'll do it later in the game so you can get those genuine reactions. But when we get under 2 minutes, about a minute and a half in a half, when we have live action to react to, we try to do so in the most genuine fashion, which means we lock our phones so we do not see the live odds updates as they could be in front of the television broadcast. We did so right there as Elijah Martin for Florida buries a straightaway triple. Gators back in front by 2, 38-36. Now, under a minute remaining here in this opening half. I am sweating out. Florida minus 3.5.
Give it up.
Transition. And we get a bucket right there. So Florida in front by 4, 40-36. JY, how do we hold on to this bad boy?
Well, you just got to get one more stop here. Now, I'm shocked that Kevin Willard isn't using his use it or lose it timeout as to get hit. So if I'm golden, I'm going to wait. Oh, okay. He's going to probably burn his use it or lose it timeout and then set up a play here. So you'll be sweating this out right to the end of the half.
A deep mid.
Oh, my Lord. What was that?
A deep baseline mid-range jumper by, I believe, Jacoby Gillespie goes in. Rattles home for Maryland. They cut the lead to only 2. Florida has the ball with over 30 seconds left. Shot clock still on.
13.
And they turn it over. They turn the ball away.
13
You know what
turnovers.
I'm mad at myself for? I wanted to bet Florida's team total over 38.5. Go! Shoot it!
Oh.
All right, just a bet. Just one bet. I have Florida to win a national championship. That is the bigger payout as we head to the break. Florida leads by 2, 40-38. First half over. Florida's team total over in the opening half. Same for the Terps. I know because I consider betting them. As they say, it is always the bet that you do not make that cashes and the one that you believed in that misses out. That's all right. Long game to go. We are at the break in both of our matchups. On the other side, a rapid halftime show, if you will. We'll touch in on what we are seeing between Alabama and BYU. Second half in Newark just about to start. And, of course, we'll dive even deeper into this matchup between the Gators and the Terps out in San Francisco. Florida up by 2, 40-38. Pre-game 7.5-point favorite. But, JY, as they're a live 5.5-point favorite at the half, there's no doubt that Kevin Willard's Terrapins have answered the call.
They've answered the call, and if you're Coach Golden, you're walking in the locker room saying 11 fouls and 13 turnovers. Clean it up. You do those 2 things, they'll run away with this game.
Yeah, could have easily covered 3.5 had that not been the case. The Gators in foul trouble. We'll catch you up on who might be in danger of sitting on the bench if they cannot clean it up. But again, Sweet 16 Thursday. 2 games live at the half. We'll break it all down for you up next.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's Bracket Central coverage, live right here on this Sweet 16 Thursday evening. I am Ben Stevens. I thought we might have a short halftime show with both games at the break before we hit our own break, but we are back in the second half, but in Newark between BYU and Alabama. Again, those closing halftime numbers, just to update them once more. Alabama led by 11. 51-40. They were a halftime 9.5-point favorite for the remainder of this game live. Total was 182.5. Pre-game numbers, Alabama 4.5-point favorite, 175 and a hook was that total. The offense we expected, certainly here tonight in the Rock. We'll see that continue in these next 20 minutes in the second half. And JY back with us here right now. Got started for BYU in a good way. Corner three for BYU's Trevin Nell bangs it. Hits that because the Cougars were only 1 of 13 in the opening half from deep. But I guess he was taunted a little bit. A BYU player taunting. They called a tee on him, leading to 2 freebies for the Cougs. But BYU out and running early in the second. Breakaway transition dunk for Richie Saunders. Single-digit game. Alabama in front, 53-45.
I didn't have BYU with a taunting foul on my bingo card today, man, but there's a lot of things I didn't have on my bingo card today. But listen, I talked about it before last break that you needed to get a good shot, preferably a 3 early on. So good job by them. Twice early in the second half, you've seen pick and rolls in action, and you've seen BYU try to draw charges. That must have been a point of emphasis in the locker room is, if they drive, get in front. Let's try and get a couple of charge calls early on.
Why, though? Why is that a point of emphasis to try to slow down what the Crimson Tide did so well offensively?
Well, I think because of the fact that, number one, if the rim, you don't have a rim protector.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair.
So you don't have someone that's going to be able to block the shot. But on the flip side, and the second part of it is, if you bring the weak side help and they get the shot off, now you have someone like a Morey or Nelson on the weak side for the rebound. So good thought philosophy by BYU. Just a tad late, but you got to give them effort for trying. But what I like even better from BYU is they're coming and they're driving it right down the cup, which looks better and better, Ben, for our over.
So, JY, as we look at it, not just that point total exploding already early on like we saw in the opening half, now here in the second 20 minutes, up to 189.5. Again, at the break, it was 182.5, up from 175.5 pregame. And if the ball is going to find its way to Mark Sears, he is not missing tonight. 1 of 9 from 3. in the opening weekend. In 2 games for Alabama, he is 6 of 8 from 3 tonight. Does BYU have the answer? Not quite on that offensive possession. BYU struggling offensively, JY, in the opening half, just 1 of 13 from deep. Does that give us any hope of BYU keeping this game close that you would want to back a live number right now?
No, I think they could because they still have a really good shooting team.
Yeah.
And then what you're having is you're getting an ability to try and come back because you're seeing now they're blitzing Sears, which means they're getting pick and rolls. They just went pick and roll, short roll to Nelson, lob to Amoy for a dunk. And the other thing you're seeing is teams, when you are a half-court defensive team, I want people to understand this, you want the team to start their offense at about the 18-second mark, right? Once you get really into your play, which then means you only defend 1 or 2 actions. These teams are getting into their offense at 26 seconds, 25 seconds. More actions means more of a chance you get an open shot.
That'll be a huge component, JY, I think, of the key matchup indicators for our second game between Duke and Arizona. The Blue Devils, the 4th most efficient defense in the country, but they want to have you play as slow as you would like offensively. Average possession length north of 19 and a half seconds. That is not what Arizona wants. They want to play fast. They want to get up and down the floor. Duke, a much slower tempo, but that is our next game in Newark. And, of course, we've got 17 minutes and then some warm-up time for the Blue Devils and the Wildcats tonight in Newark. Alabama has opened up a 13-point lead, 60-47. Largest advantage for Alabama so far, about 3 minutes gone, JY, in this second half. It seemed like BYU came out with their hair on fire, but Alabama has answered that first punch from the Cougs.
Yeah, because they just play with
goes that bad man.
There goes that man.
In Newark, New Jersey.
You got to burn a timeout, Ben. You got to burn a timeout. Great job. The one thing that people don't realize what is so devastating with the three-point shot is the ability to get a steal and get a 3. Great job by Holloway jumping the handoff with Saunders, dribbles up, and then you fill Sears behind. Open 3, timeout. This game is going to get away from BYU if they don't answer the bell after this timeout.
Mark Sears is 7 of 10 from 3 tonight against BYU. Cold shooting weekend be damned here into the second weekend in the round of 16 at the 2025 men's NCAA tournament. Mark Sears has been a huge component of Alabama getting to uncharted territory for its men's basketball program, reaching a Final Four a season ago. Ranked number 2 in the preseason AP Top 25, the highest ranking for Alabama in nearly 40 years. And here are the Crimson Tide now making a statement to start in the second half. JY, just from the live number perspective, shout if anything sounds enticing to you. 12.5-point spread in favor of the Crimson Tide. 189.5 from that live over-under perspective.
Well, it's simply put, I think they correlate together, right? If you think the game is going to go over, then you got to take the points with BYU because you figure here comes a run the other way.
For sure.
If you don't think that BYU's got it in them, then it's an under because the three-point shooting has not come around. To me, I'm in a good spot. If anything, if I lean anyway, I'm going to take the points because I do think BYU's got one run in them. The thing is, the run's going to happen now before it gets to over 20.
Before this gets away, and JY, what we're talking about here is probably more of a BYU cover perspective as opposed to pulling off one of the great Sweet 16 comebacks we might have ever seen. BYU down by 16, now in the Sweet 16 on this Thursday night, and then Alabama continues to light it up from 3. They have attempted 40 field goals. They have made 20. 31 of those have been from deep in terms of the attempts. 14 of their 20 makes tonight for Alabama have been from three-point range. And Mark Sears, again, 7 of 10 from 3, 25 points already early in the second half, well over his pregame points prop, JY, of 20 and a hook. Richie Saunders has been good. He's got 14 on the other side. Trevin Nell trying to deliver as well with double digits, but it's just 2 of 15 for BYU from 3 that is really holding back the Cougars right now.
Yeah, they got to be able to knock down threes effectively. If you look at someone like I want to say his name right, Evan Miyakawa does an excellent job. You should be following what Evan talks about on social media. He talks about the kill shot. BYU is not a team that does like a lot of big advantages in regards to that kill shot. So that means that this 10-0 run it's probably not going to be a tunnel run. It's got to be a slow, methodical comeback by the Cougars.
16-point lead for Alabama. JY, right before we get to our break here, let's talk about the other game in San Francisco at the half. Florida up by 2, the 1 seed in the West region, taking on a determined Maryland team. 40-38 right now. The Gators in front of the Terrapins. A 5.5-point spread live in favor of UF at the break. 161 and a hook is that over-under. Just for comparison, pregame numbers, 7.5-point spread in favor of Florida. 156.5 was that closing total. The story for Florida to be up by 2, JY, with 13 turnovers in 11 first-half team fouls. Honestly, kind of an accomplishment here for the Gators.
Yeah, I mean, listen, 11, like I said, the turnovers, the fouls, and Condon's out, and you're still up by 2. I want to see what happens early second half. John Rothstein just reported that he's questionable to return. What that means to me is he's going to go out for warm-ups. They're going to watch him closely. If he's good, he'll start the second half because you don't want to roll the ankle and have him start on the bench.
Yeah, that is not a good thing as you try to keep it loose. You try to keep the momentum going into the second half. The Terps, to their credit, have looked very prepared for this matchup despite
Shout out
all
to
the
Kevin
chaos.
Willard.
Shout out to Derek Queen and Julian. Probably
That's more like
guys
it.
going in practice. Plenty more on SportsGrid Bracket Central up next.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It is Sweet 16 Thursday, live right here at the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. We appreciate you joining us on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. Our early window underway. Into the second half, BYU and Alabama going bucket for bucket, 3 for 3, point for point. The Crimson Tide up by 12, 63-51. We are about to reach the under 16-minute media timeout, and Alabama leads by 12. Let's get, JY, to our other game in San Francisco. Again, Florida and Maryland before the teams emerge out of the locker room for that second half. Florida up by 2, 40-38. Pre-game 7.5-point favorite, now laying 5.5 live at the break. We talked about what the Gators have to clean up. Stop fouling, stop turning the basketball over. Easier said than done, of course, but should be a simpler thing to focus on for Todd Golden and his Gators. On the other side for Maryland, what have you liked out of what you have seen from the Terrapins? What needs to change for the second half?
Well, I like that after not getting the ball inside the Reese or Queen, they kind of went to what we call that short roll. They were either they went, pick and roll switch, throw it inside, or they do what we call the short roll, which is get the ball to them about the elbow, where you get that one dribble, and they both have really nice for bigs, beautiful touches around the basket. That little push, we call it a push shot or a push floater, as you will, depending on if you go off of 1 foot or 2 feet. So for them, they're getting quality shots. To them, it's just honestly stay the course, stay out of foul trouble, but know that you're probably going to get a better performance in the second half in regards to a Florida team will do a better job of valuing possessions.
Multiple people on Florida's rotation. They played 9 guys in the opening half. 5 of them had multiple turnovers in that opening half, including 2 of their star guards in Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard. But both also poured in 12 points, so you give some and you take some. Clayton Jr.'s points prop entering this matchup against the Terrapins after scoring 23 in each of UF's first 2 games in the opening weekend was at 20 and a half. And JY, to your point, Julian Reese, 8 points, 3 of 4 from the floor. He has 5 boards. Derek Queen, the superstar, and, of course, the dramatic game winner against CSU. 10 points, got to the charity stripe a ton, a perfect 6 of 6 from that foul line. Jacoby Gillespie, game's leading scorer for Maryland. He was great from 3 in that opening half. 3 of 5 for the Terps. Perfect from the charity stripe as well. He's got a game best 15 points.
No, and I think and here's the thing that you have to look at is they're getting, Queen 2 of 7 didn't take his first shot, but I don't think until about 6 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
Right? So they did a good job of giving him the ball. The one thing I think I said this last time with Ben last week, and I heard people say this before. Not all turnovers are created equal. Live versus dead ball turnovers. If God forbid you turn the ball over, you want it to be a dead ball.
For sure.
Ready? 13 turnovers for Florida, 9 steals.
Eesh.
That's not good. That gives opportunities there. So that's why if you're Coach Golden, you just say, value the possession. You're going to get a good shot. We're probably more aggressive in attacking the boards.
Yeah.
If you just take good shots and not foul, we should be in really good shape.
So, JY, knowing all of this, knowing how sloppy Florida played without one of their best players in the big Aussie in Alex Condon, and still to be ahead by 2 at the break, you look at that 5.5 point spread live right now at the half before we emerge into the second 20 minutes. Is it worth a wager on Florida? Is that how you would advise betting these things live?
I would say lead it on Florida because if you just line up all the statistics, right, really quick, you're winning the rebounding battle 21-10, right? You have, you fouled too much, you turned the ball over too much. You've gotten up 6, you've turned the ball over 13 times in their 7, and you still gotten 4 more shots up on the board.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the important thing. The other part is the fact that they've shot 15 free throws for Maryland.
For sure.
If you just...
And they've made many of them.
Right. So if you value your possessions and don't foul, I'm going to be honest with you. As long as Maryland doesn't get extremely hot from 3,
yeah,
I expect this game to end up being a 10-point win by Florida. I think they may start to pull away if they value the ball and don't foul, Ben.
So I'm going to go back into it. 1, because I missed out. 2, because I believe in my national championship pick in Florida. Nothing against a very talented Terps team, but I'll lay the 5.5 here at the break. We also need some investment for some rooting interest. We're together for 4+ more hours live right here on SportsGrid. We got to have some fun as we break down Sweet 16 Thursday here on Bracket Central.
Keep scoring
in Alabama and BYU, and they are listening, JY. I believe another made 3 for the Crimson Tide as we check in with that score. It is 66-55. The total's still up there, 188.5.
And they're just running. This is wild. And here's the thing that you have to think about with Alabama. Alabama does what Alabama does.
For sure.
Sometimes when you're a team that you want to run, and you try and slow down, you get out of rhythm. So if you're Nate Oates, unless this game is the last 2-3 minutes, you're just going to run your offense as you normally do.
That was going to be my question for you. It might seem like you're watching this game at home and you're like, slow it down. It's chaos. It's madness. It's fury. That's how these teams are constructed. So you would not advise either of these two, BYU playing from the deficit or the Crimson Tide in front, to try to slow things down and get into more half-court sets, would you?
No. Because that you're not comfortable playing that way, right? And you even saw it at times a little bit when out, and it was funny because Coach Bennett and St. Mary's, he stayed in what he did, and you saw Alabama at times in the last 5 minutes, kind of like when he tried to slow it down, it just didn't look right. So to me, just do what you do, play the way you play your style until the end of the game where you know the game is completely secured.
A very big three-point play for Yegor Dimon, the Russian freshman point guard for BYU, cuts this back into single digits, 66-58. Alabama still in front. More than 6 minutes gone here in the second half, but still 13:48 remaining in regulation. 7.5-point live number in favor of the Crimson Tide. And that live total tracker working its way up the mountain, back into the low 190s. Currently 193.5. JY, if I may ask you, with better eyesight here in studio looking at our monitor, Alabama's not in the penalty, are they?
Alabama's in the penalty. And BYU's got 5 fouls. Points.
That's not great, though, for the Cougs trying to make this comeback. 21 bracket set next.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm on Wilmington. It's a Seahawk. You like that or no?
I like the under there, too.
Do ya? I mean, what's that? What's that noise?
I don't. Sounds like a bad case of agita.
No. What are you talking about? Everything's great.
Yeah?
I don't know. I think we're turning the momentum around. I might not leave. I might keep
Have you won something?
Only on SportsGrid.
Right back here live on SportsGrid's Bracket Central coverage. Both of our games in this early window. In the East region, it's Alabama and BYU. Out in San Francisco, in the West region, it is Florida and Maryland, both underway in the second half. Still about 12 minutes and 45 seconds left, JY, between Alabama and BYU. The Crimson Tide now up by 12, 73-61. But during our commercial break, both you and I back BYU getting points. How come?
Yeah, it's simply the fact that BYU is going to be in the double bonus extremely soon, and they even though they just missed the 3 there, they're shooting. I think they look really good offensively. They look very comfortable and what they're doing. So to me, I'm believing that this team is going to hang around and be in this game.
A couple of bricks there, though, on that offense possession for the Cougars don't necessarily make you thrilled. And now that live number up to 11.5 in favor of the Crimson Tide, as you see a knife to the cup for Alabama. 75-61. But JY, again, foul trouble going to be a story. BYU already in the 1-1, very well could be in the double bonus very soon, as I believe we have another whistle on the floor on the Crimson Tide. Let's get over to our other game just underway in these second 20 minutes. It is Florida and Maryland. The Gators were up by 2 at the break, 40-38, despite a very sloppy opening half, turning the ball over 13 times, committing 11 personal fouls. And JY, that is the story. The big Australian for Florida, Alex Condon, who starts for Todd Golden's Gators, is one of the most creative bigs you will see in college hoops. Injured in the opening half. Looked like he injured his left ankle. Not going to speculate. We're not listening with sound on here in studio. Trying to get loose, trying to get warm. He is jogging up and down the tunnel in SF. We'll see if we see him here to end out this game against the Terrapins.
Yeah, that's not a good sign, Ben, because to me, you get 20 minutes of halftime. They probably came out, I would say, probably 6-7 minutes left to go in halftime. So to me, you would figure warm up going the game. So if he's still loosening up that ankle, to me, that's not a good indication that I think he's going to come back in the game. At least not yet.
It's a really good point, JY, because you don't only have the 15 minutes of halftime or so. He had every time in the opening half to get the treatment to see where that ankle stood. You mentioned lace it up tight and send him back out there. We'll see Alex Condon's status for the remainder of this basketball game. But our 2 live bets, just so you know, at the break, with Florida only up by 2, but really not playing a great first half, and Maryland taking advantage from the charity stripe, we both bet the Gators. Pre-game 7.5-point favorite, laying 5.5 at the half. That number now 7.5 in favor of UF, as they will look for a bucket offensively here early in the second 20 minutes. And then JY, we did back the Cougars with the points, 7.5, 8.5 live. Not a great start for us here since we did that, but we are at the under 12-minute media timeout. Alabama leads 75-61, and that live total is 195.5. We are nearing a 200-point game in the NCAA tournament, and frankly, if we stay under, it's not going to be by much.
No, it's not going to be by much, and it's simply because of the fact that you just had BYU just go through another cold streak. But if I'm BYU, I am continuing to attack the basket, and I'm starting to pick out who I'm going at, particularly the fact of Mark Sears has 3 fouls. Do they go at him and try to get him his 4th?
He's on the bench as well. He has made 7 triples tonight for Nate Oates' Crimson Tide, but he is sitting on the bench. That game at the commercial break, we're about to be in one between Florida and Maryland, JY, because back-to-back possessions here and early in the second, Florida going to their big man and Ruben Chinyelu. A couple of easy dunks at the rim. The Gators have opened up an 8-point lead. Kevin Willard, a quick timeout.
Got to burn a timeout quick because this Florida team is extremely explosive. I said it and we talked about it. It's why we bet Florida at the break. If they were to turn the ball over less and not foul, the game could open up, and that's exactly what started the second half.
I did not get my cover in the opening half with Florida laying 3.5. One of those sloppy turnovers near the end costed for me. I am still back in on the Gators, my national championship pick, in a team that I believe will handle Maryland in this second half. But we've got a lot of time left. The Terps a live 9.5-point underdog. Maryland, supremely talented, can easily stay in this basketball game. JY, we need more out of BYU at the charity stripe here as they try to claw back into the deficit. Let me ask you this quickly. We're coming up on the commercial break. We're hoping for a BYU cover. Can the Cougars come all the way back and win outright?
Possibility if they can get that 4th foul on Sears pretty quickly and get him to the bench.
We're going to hope for chaos. It is the madness back into our lives. Now into the second weekend at the Big Dance. And we're into our 3rd hour here on SportsGrid.
Already?
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in.